Yeah. Amar Kohen go Lam Vavam Rav. Amar Kohen go Rav Grusha Chalut to Kohen Hediot. The Amar to marry Kohen Gadol, Grusha Chalut to marry Kohen Hediot. Now, in Mina Erusin, once they're already betrothed, Lo Yochel B'Truma, they may not eat Truma, right? Because it's as if they already had relations. The Amar to the Kohen Lam Vav Rav for the top. Once they're betrothed, they can't have relations. They can't eat truma anymore because as if they already had relations, already also to eat, already also to kohanim, already pasul minakuna, and therefore they may not eat truma. Rav Lezer Rishim says it ain't over till it's over until nisuin, which is ironic. The question is, first of all, the Gemara later on is going to ask why nisuin not be, and the Gemara is going to come to the conclusion. It really is contingent on bia, not on nisuin per se, because it's at the point of bia when the almona has relations to Kohen Gadol that the almona becomes pasul lakuna. But the Mishnah sounds like it's with nisuin, which is the point of time at which point the almona becomes no longer suitable to be kohanim, at which point she loses the right to eat truma. Okay? Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Shimon, Lezer and Rabbi Shimon are machshir, again from the Gemara it sounds like until nisuin, from the Mishnah, it sounds like until nisuin, the Gemara will say actually until the point of bia. Nisalmanu and niskarshu mina nisuin, now vice versa, or on the way out, if they become almanos or grushos, the almana who married the Kohen Gadol, or the grusha chalut who married the regular Kohen, if they become almanos or grushos mina nisuin, from nisuin, psulos, they retain their psul. Now it sounds from the Mishnah, even if they never had bia, they're still possible, because they had nisuin to a Kohen, right? However, in Erusin, if they become the widowed or divorced out of a state of Erusin, it sounds like even Tanakama agrees that since they never reached the point in Nisuin, while at the time that they were betrothed to the Kohen Gadol or to the regular Kohen, they may not eat Truma, but now that they are off the hook because they got divorced or widowed, they may be allowed now to return to eating Truma. Okay? Matam D'Rabbanan. So why do the rabbis go after Erusin and not after Nisuin? So now, on Havayo here it says Havayo, Basish Kohen Kisi Elish Zor, if a daughter of Kohen marries a foreign man. The Nemar Lahalan Havayo, it says later on Havayo, Kien Aram Ura Salish, when there will be a woman who is a naro who's engaged or betrothed to a man. So just like in that pasuk in Dvarim, it is betrothal, right? Erusin, Afkan betrothal, Erusin. So to here it's betrothal. Matam der Blazer B'Shemen who go after Nisuin, not after betrothal, but after the chuppah. Then Avaya, it says here Avaya, and here instead of the next line, when it either has there are a couple of versions of the Gilead Ephraim. There's one version, Shari Torah Seretz Yisrael. There's another version. I'm going to learn like the Gilead Ephraim, like I quoted last night. It says here, Nemar Avaya Bas Kohen Kisieli Izor. For Nemar La'alon, it says later on, not the pasuk brought down here, Bas Kohen Kisieli Izor, because that's the pasuk not somewhere else, but over here. But it says elsewhere, Bas Kohen Kisiya Mana Grusha V'Zera Ein Law. When a Bas Kohen is a widowed or divorced, and she has no children. Okay? So there, Ma'avayit Shneimar La'alon, there it's about the Nisuin, that after fully being married, if she gets widowed, divorced, and has no children, she can go back and eat Truma in her father's house. So it's over here, Nisuin, so it's over here. The only time she becomes possible is when there's full marriage, in other words, after Nisuin. So Rabbi Yisrael said, wait a minute. We know Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Shimon. How do Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Shimon know this following halacha? Bas Kohen Shenisar Sol Yisrael, a daughter of a Kohen who became betrothed to a kosher Yisrael. Sheino Chels B'Truma, that she was not allowed to eat Truma from the point of betrothal on. Lomi Radon Din Korye, is enough in this pasuk, Bas Kohen Kisiel Yisor, when a Bas Kohen marries an Yisor. So if that's the case, they have to learn this pasuk as referring to betrothal, because that's the time when a Bas Kohen may no longer eat Truma when she becomes betrothed to a regular Yisrael, right? So since that's the point which she may no longer eat Truma, so therefore, at a certain level, this pasuk of Kisiel Yisor, so this pasuk on one level is at least talking about the after Erusin. So how can then Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Shimon say that on another level, let's talk about when she finally becomes puzzle as a result of having married a forbidden man, such as she being a Kohenes marrying a Kohenes Grusha marrying marrying a Kohen, or she being a Kohenes Almona marrying a Kohen Gadol, that is only after Nisuin. If on the one hand, you're going to learn it situationally, then because she marries Yisrael, this pasuk tells us that from the time of betrothal, she may no longer eat truma. How can tell us that when she marries somebody's puzzled to her, that it's only for the time of Nisuin that she becomes puzzled forever, even to return to her father's house and eat truma? Now, it's true there are two different scenarios. One is that temporarily she can't eat truma while she's married to the guy, and the other is that permanently she can't eat truma because she's puzzled as a result of having had a forbidden relationship. But nevertheless, if they're both learning out of the same pasuk, so the starting point for both of these situations should be the same, either Erisin or Nisuin, but not one Erisin, one Nisuin. That's inherently contradictory, right? So it says, that's what it says. At one point they say it's Erisin, in other places say it's Nisuin. It can't be. It has to be one or the other. So it says So what is the rather what is the svara of these rabbis? So I'll tell you what this svara is. So they say La'ish, it says Basish Kohen Kisiyeh La'ish. Okay? Now Ish means Bia. In other words, when is she fully her Ish? When they have relations with each other. So the way they're learning the pasuk is Uvas Ish Kohen Kisiyeh, when she becomes betrothed, La Ish, and then married, Nisuin, to a man. Okay? Who's that Ish, which we're talking about? So Ish HaMachil, a man who could normally allow women to eat truma. How so? He's a Kohen Gadol, for a regular Kohen. She's forbidden to him because she is an Almana or a Grusha. But he's a guy who normally allows women to eat truma. Since where they have a forbidden relationship with each other, so he only forbids her to eat truma for all eternity, of course, because of the Bia Psula. From the moment he is La'ish. So they're actually learning that word La'ish is superfluous, because it could have said Bas Ish Kohen Kisiyeh L'Zar. But it says Bas Ish Kohen Kisiyeh L'Ish Zar. So there are two separate things. Bas Ish Kohen Kisiyeh, when she has betrothal to even to a Yisrael, so situation she can't eat truma as long as she's betrothed to Yisrael. When, however, does she lose her rights for all eternity to eat truma? When she becomes a psula, when she fully gets married to an ish, and this ish is an ish who normally is ma'achil, normally will allow women to eat truma, if he married the right kind of woman, but here cannot because he's a Kohen, but she's a Grusha, or he's a Kohen Gadol, and she's an Almana. Okay? So, Ba'alo Dinu says, wait a minute, I could have looked at that out from Kal V'chomer. Umayim b'Yisrael she'en b'yosel post losim min hakuna by Yisrael, regular Yisrael. So his relations with this woman doesn't render her eternally unfit to kuna, right? But b'yosel post losim min truma. But when he has bia with her, so he renders unfit situationally as long as they're married to each other to eat truma, right? Not in her essence, but in her situation. So Kohen Gadol should be also poslasim in Arkuna, where the bia renders her eternally unfit in her person to notice to be a Kohen, meaning to eat truma. Eino din shetie be also poslasim in truma. Sa'akav v'chomer that the bia, of course, forbids her to eat truma. Says the Gemara, no, not necessarily. Interesting the way the Gemara refutes Kav Chomer. No. You know what? It could be I can't say Kav Chomer. I would say Yisrael, he renders her unfit to eat truma when he has bia with her. You know why? Because he never allows there's no way he ever allows anybody to eat truma. On the contrary, he's a drag on truma eaters. If he marries somebody, they can't eat truma. Right, Yisrael? Right? He even drags on Kohanos. So therefore, maybe his bia renders a woman temporarily, at least, unfit to eat truma. Tomer Kohen Gadol, however, Kohen Gadol, It's true he messes, this woman and him are not allowed to get together. But normally he does allow women to eat truma, right? That's his thing. He's a Kohen Gadol, right? So, perhaps since he normally allows women to eat truma, maybe a mono Kohen Gadol is a forbidden relationship, but maybe it doesn't render unfit to eat truma. It's good logic. If you step back for a minute and think about it, how can a Kohen Gadol render a woman unfit to have truma? His whole status is kahuna.
If the marriage is an unfit marriage?
No, so that I need Exeris Kosev to tell me. That's what he's saying. I could not construct that logically. Because I can't say if he's Yisrael when there's a woman unfit to eat truma, Kal v'chomer Kohen Gadol does. That's not true. Grant that the relationship is forbidden, but Kohen Gadol, his whole nature, by everybody else he marries, is to allow truma. How can he possibly disallow truma here? So it's counterintuitive. That's where the pasuk is necessary. I know it's not totally counterintuitive, but it's true. But the Gemara is trying to explain why we need a pasuk to tell us this.
Yeah.
That there is a svara to say the opposite.
What about the svara that the Kohen Gadol in this marriage is chayav malchus? Right?
Yeah.
Now, whereas Ish Zor, who marries a Bas Kohen, is not Chaim Malchus, that is just a normal marriage. So you could maybe somehow tie that in and say...
You could have, but in any event, once there's a way of undermining the Kal v'chomer, because you could say based on the logical construct that a Kohen Gadol by its very nature should allow eating of truma, not bar you from eating truma. So that's why I need Exeris Kosev of Lo Ish, to tell us that there's a time when she marries somebody who's normally somebody who allows to eat truma and bars you from eating truma, right? Even though there are constructs you can make in the other direction, since there was one possible construct which is not outlandish, which allows you to have a Kohen Gadol allowing the woman to eat truma, even though the relationship is forbidden. So that's a need to tell us, no, it can't be permitted under any circumstances. Okay, so the fact that I can construct Malchus, and say, well, surely if he gets Malchus, it should be worse. Not necessarily. I could say that that's like a gavra thing, but in the Chefta she remains allowed to eat truma. That's like a...
He could get Malchus, but she could still possibly...
No, it should get Malchus too. They'll both get Malchus for having done something not nice.
She could still eat.
But so maybe she can still eat truma. So that's why I need to have each and tell me that they can't eat truma, right? Nishbar kavachom, the kavachom is broken chazad l'chol mikron. You have to go back to the pasuk. From kain tzarich l'meimah. That's why I say leish hamachil, that when he has relations with her, that's when the Amon of the Kohen Gadol, Grusha v'chalutz of Kohen Hediot, so then she becomes possible to eat truma. Now, now for what reason? Take out the word lo. The word lo is superfluous. There are other ways of fixing the Gemara, but that's the easiest way to fix Gemara. My time, Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Shimon, only nisuin postim also b'lachol b'truma. Still, why do Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Shimon say that only the nisuin makes her possible to eat truma? Why don't I see from the time of the erusin? Okay, so they have a cute distinction here. They say there's kisiela and then there's leish. But why? Why should it be that way? I don't know if the Gemara is asking a why in the Exeris Kosev. I think the Gemara is asking more why learn the Exeris Kosev this way. Say Loish goes back on the Kisiyeh and say that Loish is not a separate stage, because the way they're learning now is Kisiyeh, when she gets married to Yisrael, she's got to stop eating truma. But only when she becomes Loish, only when she has full bia with the Kohen Gadol or with the Kohen Hediot, and she's an Amana or a Grusha Chalutza, then she loses her rights permanently to eat truma. Why can't the next phase in the pasuk go back and unite with the first phase and have them both speak about a common time, i.e. from the time of Erusin?
Because the ramifications are so severe that you want to wait till the last possible minute.
Maybe, but I need to have a proof for that. I need a proof that I can say that. And we will. Says Mar, again, Ma'atam Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Shimon, Nisuin Posel Sam Lecho Truma, not Erusin. Now, and the Gemara goes into a lumdus here. Ma'avad Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Shimon. Why did Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Shimon delay the time at which he renders their basel? Is it mishum shuhu ra'ui lacho? Is it because he, the husband, is a truma eater, or mishum shu ra'ui la'achil, or because he's a person who can cause others to eat?
Could be both.
Could be both. Let's see. Nishmini me'adah. Let's it out from here. So it says the Gemara, a very cute proof. We got it. Credit here. He says, a Kohen has a wife, and he became he got some sort of blemish, right? Something happened to his aver or to his testicles, or something happened there, and he's no longer suitable of a bakol. He's no longer allowed to be married to his wife. Now, he's still married to her. He's not allowed to have relations with her. If he has relations with her, if they have relations, so that's it. She can no longer eat truma, because she had relations with a man who was forbidden to her. This husband is like a mamzer. He's not allowed to have relations with a normal Jewish woman now.
Now, why can't, I don't recall this so often, why can't he have relations?
Well, it's coming up later in Yevamos. But that's a special halacha. A man who has become sterile under one of these circumstances where there's become a wound to his aver, to the testicles, so he cannot remain married to a Jewish woman.
Any man or just a Kohen?
Any man. So it depends on kind of. It's not just sterility. Obviously, it's a story about where there's damage. So this damage. So im loida mishash nasa b'tzudak krushavcha. What if he didn't have yet relations with her? So if he has relations with her, she's finished. That's it. But they didn't have relations yet. So Areli Yochlu, they can still eat. So he's a Kohen who's married to her, but they're forbidden to have relations, and if they have relations, she'll be compulsive forever. But for that span of time until either he divorces her, or has relations with her, or he dies, or whatever, so she's allowed to eat truma. Why is that? Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Shimon, some more explain. Yeah. Amar Eliezer Rabbi Shimon. I'm sorry. Amar Rabbi Eliezer. Did Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Shimon here? Rabbi Eliezer said. The Amora said this is like Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Shimon the Tanoi, because Islach Meimer Hada B'Shum Rushu Roi Lachil. Can you say in this case it's because he can cause women to eat truma? He can't cause women to eat truma. He's not allowed to marry a Jewish woman, right? Happens to be he hasn't yet gotten around to divorcing this one, right? But he's not allowed to marry Jewish women. They're not allowed to marry him. It's forbidden. So why does he allow his wife to continue to eat truma? It's because he's suitable to eat truma. He never loses his personal status as a Kohen. Even though if he marries a woman, he's going to render her unfit to ever eat truma. But right now, a Kohen he remains. So since he remains a Kohen, therefore he can allow a woman to eat truma, right? Since he remains a Kohen, therefore he's allowed to continue to eat truma. So that teaches us that anybody who's suitable to eat truma, such as a Petzua Daka, even though he can't allow anybody else to eat truma, because if he marries a woman that's bad for her, not good for her, nevertheless, as long as they remain married, she's allowed to continue to eat truma. So too the same thing here, in our case. Even though the Kohen Gadol and the Amana are not allowed to get married together, but nevertheless, since he's suitable to eat truma, so therefore I would never have said that he renders a woman unfit, and that she can't eat truma as a result of a marriage to him, unless I had the pasuk of Laish. That's when Laish should tell me that that he passes her from eating truma when you reach the situation of Laish, when there's a marriage. Now, when there's a nisuin, and here the Gemara says, of course, nisuin is bogus. It's not because the nisuin nivalu. What really is the coup de grace is the bia. Bein min erisin bein nisuin, right? Regardless of whether it's nisuin or erisin. If nivalu bein min erisin bein nisuin psulos, then they're puzzled. Lo nivalu bein min erisin bein nisuin. If there was not yet any bia, whether it's erisin nisuin, ksheris, they're still kosher. So now we understand Rabbi Eliezer Shimon actually fully. What they were saying is that The only time she becomes a pesula lakuna is when she has relations with the guy. And Erusin Nisuim, what the terms we're using till now are smoke screens, right? It's Bia which makes that thing. The same way like a pesula daka. As long as he hasn't had Bia with her, she still is allowed to eat truma. So therefore, that's in between Tanakama and Rebbe Lezer Shim. Tanakama will submit it as Erusin. Submit it as any type of relationship. Even the legal relationship between the Amon and the Kohen Gadol, between the Grusha Chalutz or Kohen Hediot, right? So then between a woman and her husband is a Psua Daka, I guess, as well. If Tanakama argues there, which he probably, I assume he does. I don't know if he does for sure. So then she can't eat truma because Kisiya Lish Zor, right? But and Kisiya means sometime betrothal. But Rabbi Lezer Shimon holds no. It's only when Law Ish, when he takes possession of her, not by Nisuin, but actually by Bia. Because until that point, he's the person who eats Truma. And she was the person who eats Truma because she was a Kohenes. She's a born Kohenes. So, they say the legal relationship, even if it's forbidden technically, but the legal relationship between a woman who's allowed to eat Truma and a man who's allowed to eat Truma cannot logically preclude her from eating Truma. It's only once they have the Bia Psula, that's the point when she no longer needs truma anymore.
And likewise, if it's an Isor and a Bas Kohen, again, it's the Bia that disqualifies her from eating truma.
Right.
Which we said before as Erusin, but it's really...
But that's only Rebbe Lezer, Rebbe Shimon, not according to Tanakama. Tanakama holds Kisiya is literally from the time of marriage. Okay. From the time the legal relationship is created, not the time when the Bia occurs. Okay?
Now, Halacha Maisa, there are certain urologic operations that rentals a man.
Yeah, there are a lot of problems with prostate operations. Right? Prostate operations are a problem in Halacha. They have to be done the right way.
But usually it cuts off the tube so that the man is sterile. I mean,
it's not right.
Zera, that's.
It's not. Prostate operations do have the problem. I'm not familiar with them. I don't know exactly how they work and how halacha, halacha works, how halacha looks at them, but I know that they are a problem, or Moshe's truths about them. But certain types of prostate operations, if done in the wrong way, will render a man unfit to remain married to his wife. But I think that there are ways to do them without.
Probably now there are. This is what I'm talking about. 10, 15 years
right.
ago.
Well, there are ways to do without it causing that problem.
It's usually in an older age.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. Oh, but yeah.
A woman is post menopause anyway.
So
that means that she's not.
That doesn't matter.
So even though she's not capable of conceiving.
Yeah, still her husband has to have the possibility. It's the soul of his body. He can't be Jewish. He can't be Jewish. Can't be married to a Jewish woman, a born Jewish woman.
Even though the woman is not.
Even though she's right, exactly. Okay, we'll get to later in the Masechta. This comes up later in Yevamos. Kohen Gadol Lisa Salmona. The Kohen Gadol should not marry an Almona. Ben Almona Mineris. From now I'm going to learn it here. I can't share my voice anymore there.
Fine by me.
It's nice and quiet in here.
It's quiet. Yeah. So for your rating, you give it at least 3.
We call it yeah.
The only problem, I guess, is winter.
As winter comes, we'll worry about it.
Yeah.
This
winter's supposed to be very bad.
Yeah, as winter comes, it's possible like last year when winter comes, I have permission to go off campus. That's what it was last year. So this year they'll probably be leery to give me permission and I might not come back. But all right, we'll see. Kohen Gadol Lisa Salmon. The Kohen Gadol should not marry an Almona. Ben Almona min Erusin ben Almona min Nisuin. Whether she's an Almona of Erusin, Almona min Nisuin, she's forbidden to marry the Kohen Gadol. Right? Period. Also, Lisa's brother, he may not marry a girl who's over 12 and a half. He's got to marry a girl who's between 12 and 12 and a half. Okay? Yeah, he can't marry either, but he can't marry a Ketana either. She can't be a Ketana because it's got to be an Isha. Vu Isha b'psuleh yikach. So it's got to be a woman, but not a b'psuleh, means not a Bulgaris. So it's between that window of opportunity between 12 and 12 and a half. The Lezer V'Shem Machshim Bulgaris, they say he can't marry a girl over 12 and a half. But he says Mukasei, he can't marry a woman whose besulim have gone away as a result of some accident, literally hit by a stick in that place. Here's someone, what happens if he became betrothed to a widow, but his mali is Kohen Gadol, then he became appointed to be Kohen Gadol, Yichnos, he can complete the marriage. She betrothed Martha Bas Besus, who was a widow, who was astronomically rich widow too. And we know Melchior was Kohen Gadol, and Martha Bas Besus in fact paid off the king, and the king appointed to be a Kohen Gadol, but he was a good guy. He was one of the good Kohanim Gedolim. For Kinsa, and then he completed, okay, he was obliged. He completed the marriage with her, right? If a woman falls as a Shomeres Yovam to a regular Kohen, and of course she's a widow, right? The Israelios Kohen Gadol, they was appointed to be Kohen Gadol. Even though he made Maimer before he was appointed to be Kohen Gadol, Lo Yichnos, he may not to marry her, because there's a difference between having betrothed her and just having had Zika. Zika is not the same thing as betrothal, so therefore he cannot continue and take her afterwards. Kohen Gadol shemeis, if a Kohen Gadol dies, achiv choletz v'lo miyabeim. So his brother does chalitza and not yibum. Okay, the Gemara is going to. I'm sorry, I did it wrong. Said it wrong. Kohen Gadol shemeis achiv, the Kohen Gadol whose brother dies. So the Kohen Gadol choletz v'lo miyabeim. The Kohen Gadol goes chalitza not yibum. Of course, it can't do yibum because she is a widow.
That's a given. I mean,
right, it's a given. No, so Gemara's going to say it's not so partial. You'll see. Says the Gemara, Amona lo yikach bein min eretz and bein nisuin. He may not. Well, Amona lo yikach is the apostle. Amona lo yikach can't marry Amona, and that's bein min eretz and bein nisuin. That's whether it's from betrothal or from marriage. Crucial lo yikach. That's also the apostle. Bein min eretz and bein nisuin, both from betrothal and marriage. Lo yisas Bogeres, he may not marry a woman over 12 and a half. Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon, Machshir Bogeres, they say Bogeres is okay. Shavish lo yikach mukaseitz. Everybody agrees you can't take a woman whose besulim have fallen out by accident. Ma'avin Bogeres, Ma'avin mukaseitz. What's the treat of Bogeres and mukaseitz? So Bogeres, kol besuleh, a Bogeres, a girl over 12 and a half, her besulim have gone away, dissipated on their own, b'meyer, within herself. That's okay, because they've kind of drawn in. But she hasn't lost them. Mukaseitz yotzu b'sula chutz, a woman who had an accident, so her b'sulim went away from her. So therefore she's not technically a b'sula. When they draw up into the body, they absorb in the body, she retains the status of b'sula. If they leave the body, even by an accident, so then she's no longer a b'sula. Some say the exact opposite. Lord, that the machlokus was about mukaseitz, lo yisos and mukaseitz. The way to read the Mishnah said he shouldn't marry mukaseitz. Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon, Machshir mukaseitz. They say mukaseitz is okay. B'shavin shli says Bogeres, but everybody agrees that he can't marry a Bogeres. Ma'abin Bogeres, Ma'abin mukaseitz. So it's interesting, Bogeres and mukaseitz. Bogeres over Yemei Nurim. It says the pasuk is Korban 8 explains that the pasuk says Isha b'psuleh yikach, and it says Besula, elsewhere in the pasuk by Nara, Besula Murasa, the pasuk in Dvarim, which talks about a girl who's raped. So it says here, Besula over here. I thought the pasuk might be brought down here. No, not the full pasuk anyway. So it says Besula over here. It says Besula by Nara, Besula Murasa. So it's a Xer Shop. Just like over there, the psula is in Nara, so here the psula is in Nara, right? It's supposed to be Bogeres, right? Mukaseitz, or Nurim. Mukaseitz is about Mukaseitz between 12 and 12 and a half. So therefore, she's technically okay, according to this version of the Mishnah. Okay? Says the Gemara, Achos Mukaseitz. Interesting sidebar. What happens if a Kohen is allowed to go to the funerals of 7 relatives? One of which is an unmarried sister. But what about if the sister is a mukaseitz? She's not married, but is mukaseitz. Because it says you should go to the funeral of his sister is a psula. So what about if she's a mukaseitz? She's no longer a psula. Now obviously it means if she's no longer a psula because she had relations. then he can't go to the funeral. We're talking about here where she didn't have relations, but she lost her psulim. So it says, Omer, Omer, lo yitamilo. You can't go to the Levaya. Chachamim yitamilo. Chachamim say you can't. So it says, Ya'os Rabbi Meir Rabbi Shimon, al dali taitin dilin yitami. But Rabbi Meir Rabbi Shimon makes sense according to these Tanoim who say that a Kohen Gadol can't marry Mukaseit. But Mechavin she tells the Rabbanan, but the Rabbanan seem to contradict themselves. Common, there they say, Nara v'lo bogeres, Nara means v'lo bogeres, not a bogeres. Bisula, not a mukaseit, not a mukaseit. V'achinun armina chen here. So how can they say they can go to the Levaya? So Rabbi Hillel said a fundamental principle. Seems like there's a fundamental principle in Shas, even though I've never seen it before. But it seems like he meant a fundamental principle. Kol medrash binyano. You can't infer drashas. Drashas have to be made locally. In other words, you can have the same words and they mean different things in different contexts in Tanakh. It says Nara Basula by a Kohen Gadol, and it says Nara Basula by a sister of a Kohen, but they mean different things in these two different places. So he says here, Tamon, there it's where it says La Chosa Psula. Doesn't say Nara B'sula, it says a Chosa B'sula. Where it says sister is the B'sula, you can go to Levaya, Prat La Nusa Mefuta. It precludes his sister who had relations with a man, either because she was seduced or she was raped. Or Yocho, perhaps you'll say, it should be Shani, not Shei, no. Shani Motzias Mukaseit said he can't go to Levaya, his sister's Mukaseit. Tamul Omar Shaloi Solish. No, because it says he can go to Levaya of his sister who never consorted with a man. So what renders him no longer capable of going to Levaya when she was in the hands of a man? Lo Shoy say the after, now when it happened through some other means. And therefore we learn, that's the first drasha we make. And then we also learn, HaKoiva, it says that his sister was close to him. The Rabbis Sarusa means even if she's already betrothed to somebody else, so as she's still a Basula, he can go to the Levaya. A love to him, L'Rabbos is a Bulgaris, it means that he can even go to her if she's Levaya, she's a Bulgaris, again, as long as she's a Psula. So therefore we say that the words Achosa Psula have a different meaning there because of the context. The context there is inclusions, not exclusions. And therefore, if we learn the word Psula means that as long as she's a Psula, she didn't have relations, even if she lost her Psulim, since it says Psula, Kroive, love, it's the inclusions indicate that as many women as we can, we allow them to go to Levaya. As opposed to our case over here by the Almana, when it says he has to marry a Nara Basula, here clearly it's meant to be not inclusions but exclusions, and therefore we learn it in place in its own locality as exclusions, and telling us that Stavka got to be a woman who's not even a Mukaseit.
They weren't afraid that people might, if they see that the Kohen doesn't go to the Levaya, they might think,
what can they do? It's a Doraisa. You can do that by the Rabbanos, but by the Doraisa is tough. Whatever people think, they think. That's the law. You can't do anything. Marazain doesn't play a role in the Doraisa.
It wasn't...
All right, so those are the breaks. Those are the breaks. I mean, the Torah, once the Torah makes a decree, you have to abide by it. No matter, you can grumble and gripe, but tough. Okay? So it says, Merchavin Shitas in Rabbana. There's a contradiction in Rabbana. Tamani, you know what I mean? Now, over there they say, take out the next line. Skip a line. So, Tamani, there they say, Karov V'lo Rusa. Now, this is talking about, when does the husband inherit his wife? When she dies, of course, but when it says Karov, and not when they're only betrothed. The husband only inherits his wife after there was a full marriage. A love, if he's to her, or she's to him, lo grusha, not if they're already divorced. That's what they say over there, that karov and a love are exclusions, not a rusa, not a grusha. But here, in the case of a levaya, it says karov and a love are inclusions. That even if she's betrothed, even if she's a bogeres, he can still go to Levaya. So how come in one place there are exclusions and one place there are inclusions? So Rabbi Hillel said again, Kol Medrash K'Minyono. Every Medrash is darshan locally. Achoisa lo'elam hi bifnim. His sister, they're always related to each other. Until they're not related anymore. So therefore, as many inclusions as you include, right? Because the basic starting point for the drashas is they're related. Keep them related as much as possible. Darshan all the words you can as inclusions. Arusaso, however, a betrothed woman, she's outside. Until she gets inside. So therefore, darshan all the psukim over there as exclusions, that the husband can only be yoresh his wife when she's fully a wife. You see that? A sister, the a priori assumptions, a fascinating concept. Rabbi Hillel is saying, sister, a priori assumptions, they're related, they're blood relatives. So therefore, any pasuk which can enhance that blood relative relation, you learn it that way. By a wife and a husband, they're not related, right? So therefore, any pasuk you can learn as an exclusion. Don't consider this one related. Don't consider this one related until they're fully related. So the words which are ambiguous are darshan relative to the location as inclusions or exclusions accordingly. Okay? Says more further. Anusaso mifusaso. A kohen gadol. He raped or seduced a woman. Lo yachnis. You can't marry her. Why? She's no longer psula. Hi, he did it. Tough. Im kanas, if he did it, we don't make a divorcer. Now, this is against the Bavli. The Bavli holds that even b'diavad he's got to divorce her. Right? It's true. The Pnei Moshe speaks about a little bit in length, but it seems it tries to reconcile, but it seems to be a contradiction. The Bavli holds it's true. It's your fault. But so what? She's not a psula. You're not marrying a psula. But the Yerushalmi, according to the way it's written in front of us, holds that b'diavad it's okay because it's not really somebody else. It's the Torah's intent was to ask somebody else's bu'ula, and she's your bu'ula. Okay, so it's machlokas b'al Yerushalmi. Rama Paskins like the Bavli.
I thought the Matzim Yada, there's a carbonate on Matzim Yada, I thought it was in this case. I thought you changed around the gear so you did. It's on the second.
No, that's the next case, right?
Is he still allowed to be kohen gadol?
No. You mean according to the Yerushalmi? Yes, but not according to the Bavli. So he divorces her, you can't be kohen gadol. Now, if a girl was raped or seduced by his friend, then of course he can't marry her. And if he did marry her, of course, we make him divorce her. He may not marry a girl who's a ktana. But he can marry a girl who was married by her brother or her mother, right? And repudiated the marriage. So wait a minute. Isn't Ma'anis a ktana? You can only be mine. She can only repudiate the marriage while she's still a ktana. So he doesn't marry her while she's a ktana. He marries her after she becomes a gdola, after she already repudiated the marriage. So assuming they didn't have relations, the marriage was never consummated. Now, period. Going back to the mission says, if he betrothed someone, if Ismaili is kohen gadol, then becomes a kohen gadol, yachnis, he can take her in. That was the Mishnah. So it says more, what about the Kabbalah? We say the same thing. Iris is a ktana. If he betrothed a ktana, when Ismaili is kohen gadol, if he becomes a kohen gadol, yachnis, can he marry her? It says more, no. Karani Allah isha v'lo ktana. I say she has to marry an isha, not a ktana. So that we say, let him wait till she becomes a gedola. He can wait, right? He'll wait till she becomes a gedola and then do nisuin. But she cannot take her in now. Now, why but Amana do we allow that? So it says the truth is by Amana we shouldn't allow it either. It says in the Mishnah we do allow him once he betroths an Amana to marry her as an Amana. So it's a contradiction. The Ketana you just said he has to wait till she grows up, even though they're betrothed already. So why by Amana do we allow that? So it says more really we wouldn't allow it. There in the Mishnah there was a trick. The fix was on. Harama asa. Rabbi Yerushalmi Gamla made a trick. Shal, he borrowed. Now here it's a little bit of a mistake. It should say the Mechamayim corrects. It says Shal Priyoma It says Pirio, it should be Priyoma. Instead of Priyoma, we have bar to Priyoma, which is a chuppah. And Yosef, and it should be Yosef not La'ama, but Yosef Lemarsa Begava. In other words, before the appointed Kohen Gadol knew it was coming, obviously Marsa paid off the authorities, so he quickly called or borrowed a chuppah and had Marsa sit in it. Now it wasn't the Nesuin. Of course, they wanted to make a big Mechasna, right? But everybody thought she was in Nesuin. And at that point, the Shamis, the Kiblis Alay, she heard this and she accepted this ruse. The Tanya, and even though she wasn't yet in Nesuah, we learned that by saying that if a woman has there's a rumor which goes on to say that she's married, even though she's not married, we give her the chumrah being married, and she has to get a get. So too here is the opposite. Here, Marsa, everybody assumed she was married to Rabbi Yeshua ben Gamla. She wasn't really married to Rabbi Yeshua ben Gamla. It was a trick. But since people already assumed that before he became Kohen Gadol, there had been a bona fide chuppah, even though it was just a show chuppah, that was enough to come and say, okay, B'diavad will let it under the bridge. So really it means that B'diavad, once the Kohen Gadol has done Erusin, it's as if he's fully married. And the chumrah not to allow him to do full nisuin by a ktana until she grows up is a chumrah d'Rabbanan. And the truth is they should be machmir that chumrah even by an almana. The only reason they were machmir chumrah by almana by Rabbi Yeshua ben Gamla is because there are extenuating circumstances, because he played this trick on her, or they played the trick on everybody else, and they thought there was nisuin before he became Kohen Gadol, and that's why they didn't make her and him get divorced. Okay, but otherwise they would have done so. Says more further. I don't know if the Bible agrees with that, but that's what the Yerushalmi holds, that there has to be some extenuating circumstance to allow him to do the nisuin on the Amona, even though they did Erusin before he becomes Kohen Gadol. Now, says the Gemara, getting to the next case in the Mishnah. A Shomer Siyavam to a Kohen Gadol, right? Even if it did Maimer, it's no good. Even Beishamai holds Maimer as a quasi-Kinyan holds it's not good enough. He's still not considered to be betrothed to her. And therefore, even if he did Maimer before he became Kohen Gadol, he cannot complete the Yibum after becoming Kohen Gadol. But Rabbi Shimon, even Rabbi Shimon who says Maimer is either Kohen or not Kohen, but it's Kohen completely, since he doesn't know if it's Kohen or not Kohen, right? So therefore, even having the Maimer is not enough. But the low Rebbe Eliezer ben Arach. But our mission is not like Rebbe Eliezer ben Arach. Rebbe Eliezer ben Arach, Oimer, he says Maimer Kohen Kinyan Gomer B'Yavama. He says Maimer is where it's at. Says if he had Bia with the Yavama. So now Maimer Kohen Kinyan Gomer B'Yavama. Kohen Gadol Shemeis Echov. Kohen Gadol whose brother died. Cholitz lo miyabim. He does chalitz na'ivu, right? That's what said in Mishnah. You said it was Posh, right? It says where Hadam is Sayed. This is a proof Lamandam ar chalitza p'tur. It's a proof that Pedro the chalitz is a p'tur. So of course he can pater his Yibam. That's the humane thing to do. Param commandam ar chalitza kinyan, but according to the opinion which holds chalitza is a kinyan. What's the Kohen Gadol doing? He's doing chalitza to her. At that moment he's marrying her. Simultaneously make a kinyan, then sending her out. So he's doing an Isser, right? What Isser does he do? He's marrying an Almona, right? So, Oimer lo avora divrei Torah. Do we tell him to transgress the Isser of marrying an Almona in order to do Chalitza? So our Mishnah, which allows Chalitza for a Kohen Gadol, allows the Kohen Gadol to do Chalitza, clearly holds the Chalitza is a P'tur, and Chalitza is not a Kinyan. That's the Chiddush of our Mishnah. Okay? Said not bad. Says the Mishnah further. Kohen.
This is a step further than that we assume that.
This is taken to a radical extent. That's right. I'm sure the Bali doesn't do this, but that's what it says. Yeah, that's what the Bali is saying. The Chiddush of Mishnah is. Okay. Kohen Hediot. I didn't look at the Bali. Right? I assume that it doesn't do it. Kohen Hediot lo yisas aylonis. So Kohen Hediot, even a regular Kohen, should not marry an aylonis, a woman who's barren, unless he has a wife and kids. So even a person ready has a wife and kids, should marry an islandist, a barren woman. She's zoina amura b'Torah. Amazing statement. That's a zona. She's forbidden. No, which is forbidden to a Kohen. No, ain't zoina. A zoina who's forbidden to a Kohen is only Eligioris, a woman who converted. Mushuchrera, a woman who was released from slavery. Or had forbidden relations. Says the Gemara, wait a minute. Sounds like only a Kohen who has no wife and kids is not allowed to marry an idolist. What about Yisrael? Says the Gemara, Odhu also brought Yisrael also should marry an idolist. Begin at Sinan Tamon, but since the end of the Mishnah, the story about Ein Zoyna Amura B'Torah, the story about what a Zoyna is, and it says the Zoyna which is stated by Torah is Giores and Meshukheres and Meshnivel Abilas Nus, but Kulan Kohen and Yisrael is allowed to marry a Zoyna. So only a Kohen is not allowed to marry a Zoyna, right? From Cain, Lotzina, that's when the ratio it doesn't say Yisrael, it says Kohen, because of the Seifa, which is only pertinent to the Kohen. But in Echanami, according to our Mishnah, also Yisrael should not marry an islandist unless he has a second wife and kids. Amrei Ben Pazi said, it says, Ben Shurosam Yatziru. Between their rows, they glowed with the olive oil. So Yitzar Tzir Shalosh with Yitzar. But they did not go to involve themselves in the vineyards. What does it mean? Shlohesa Bilasim Shumbanim. They didn't have the intent, it seems that the Eov here is referring to the Dora Mabel. They enjoyed the glow of having relations, but they had no concept of having children. That's why it's likened to olive oil and not to vineyards. Rabbi Simon similar to the Pasuk by Yoshea. Rabbi Simon says, "Ochul v'lo yizbu." They ate and were not satiated. He's new. They were licentious, but they did not expand. Meaning Shaloi Sabilos and Shumbanim at the time Dora Mabul, very similar to modern day situations. People were not getting married to have kids. Well, nowadays people don't even get married. But now then they weren't getting married to have kids. They were married for the purpose of just having relations, which we feel is a negative thing. Ksiva says, "Vayikach lo Lemech shtei noshim." Lemech took two wives. Ada, she'mis'adim gufa used to take pleasure in her body. She was the wife for the purpose of relations. Tzila, language of shadow. So Ada means pleasure. Tzila means shadow. She would sit in the shadow of the children, meaning she was the one for breeding purposes. So he had.
I thought it was the opposite.
No. It's the Bavli has different drushes on the names, but maybe you're right. You're right. The Bavli is the opposite. Ada, Brash and Chumash brings down, she was reprehensible to him, and Tzila was Yosheves B'Tzilo. That's right, she said his shade. You're right. Bavli is the opposite drasha. Very good. That's not true. Okay, shkoyach.
It's also Rashi.
Right, Rashi and Chumash brings it down. Yeah. See, so maybe it's not even a Bavli, maybe it's just a Medrash.
I hear it in Rashi.
But it's Rashi and Chumash, you're right. Mesilu Rabbi, so ask Rabbi, I understand Hagat Mucha. How can you say that a Kohen is not allowed to marry an islandist? That's a Zoyna. What about Shreis HaKara? Ve'ein Sofa Leilei. What about if she was barren and not an islandist? So which just happened not to have the luck to have kids? Hagat Shreis HaKara. What if she was an old woman and can no longer have kids, right? So obviously an islandist also is just because she can't have kids, it doesn't make her a Zoyna. Tanya Rebbe Lezer says a very interesting Gemara. A man who's not married, a bachelor, has relations with a woman who's not married. And they have it just for the purpose of, fun, not for the purpose of marriage. That's considered to be bilas nus. And according to Rebbe Lezer, that would render her unfit to marry a Kohen. A woman who we don't fast at Glezer, we fast only if she fooled around with somebody who's forbidden to her. But Glezer says a woman who fooled around just period cannot marry a Kohen. That's it. She's stuck. So Mama said Hadamras teach us Kohen Gadol shekiddush isha b've'ila eino kibala bula. It says the Kohen Gadol, this Kohen Rabbi Lezer, you have to say that a Kohen Gadol marries a woman with be'ila. Married, that's how he contracts a marriage, is not like he's having relations with a woman who's already be'ula. Now, it's a fascinating thing. Rabbi Yosef Engel explains that a lot of Acharonim speak about this. You might say that the way Rabbi Yosef Engel explains it, he says you have to say that the beginning of the bia is the kinyan, hara is the kinyan by when you're mekadosh b'bia, because otherwise, if the kinyan is the self bia, right? So the tchilas bia, she becomes a zoyna. Because the tchilas bia is not kiddushin, right? At that point, it's a bia l'shem taiva, so to speak, and only at the end will be a bia l'shem kiddushin. So if you said that Sof Bia is koine, so first she would become a Be'ula, and then only afterwards would she become permitted, only afterwards would she become, the seconds later, but only after she become married. By that time she's already Be'ula. So it's no good. So you have to say that Tchilos Bia is koine. That's what he wants to say. And so to say that Eina Kabbalah Be'ula, that Tchilos Bia is koine, because otherwise we bring the koine girl to be Mekadosh B'Bia. So the Yerushalmi wants to say that the Bavli argues. He says, because the Bavli says that Kol HaBoel Daita Al Gemar Bia. But the Bavli holds it's not a problem. You don't have to say Tchilas Bia Koine, because anytime the Bia begins with the intent of going all the way and making a Bia at the end, making a Kinyan, so it's not Derech Hefkerus. The only time we realize that Ponei Abola Pnuya makes her Zoinas when it's Derech or Be'ula for a Kohen Gadol, so when it's Derech Hefkerus is Nus. But here it's on the way to a valid marriage, so therefore it's okay, even if they begin with the intent, even if the das is on Sof Bia. But in any event, that's the Yerushalmi clearly doesn't say that way. The Yerushalmi obviously holds that were it not to be Tchilas Bia, which is koine, so then it would be a problem that should be Be'ula prior to actually be marrying him, which of course would make her unfit to marry Kohen Gadol. Okay, a person should not be bought from period v'rivya. A person should not desist from having relations. Unless he has children. Beis Shammai mean what's children? Shnei Zchorim, 2 males fulfills approval. Beis Hillel mean Zochar and Nekeva, a male and a female. Shemar says Zochar and Nekeva bra, male and females are created. Nasa Isha V'Shasei Moaz Asar Shalim, married a woman and spent with her 10 years below Yolda and she didn't give birth. In Rosh Hashanah is not allowed to continue to live with her and desist from having children. He has to divorce her. We don't pass it to Bisman Hazeh. Kirsha, if he divorces her, Muteres Li Nasu Achra, she could still marry somebody else. Maybe she'll have better luck next time. Rashai Shein Li Shosim Hazeh Shaim. The second one would spend 10 years with her. V'Pila, if she has a miscarriage, so maybe she is fertile. So Moina Mishah she Pili count 10 years from after the miscarriage. A man is required to be fruitful and multiply, of Elisha but not a woman. On both of them it says Kosh Baruch Hu bless them, prove when he says be fruitful and multiply, so the both Muchlim prove. Now B'Shama they say 2 males, because if I'm in Moshe had 2 males, Gershom and Eliezer. But somebody knows, Zochar Nekeva, male and female. B'Ribbi Yosef Shalom Olam. Shneimar Zochar Nekeva Bra. Now, Amar Rabun said, and the Bavli disagrees with this. He says, Lochein Tzricha, what Beis Hillel meant is we need Beis Hillel Shita to say, Afilu Zochar Nekeva. Beis Hillel also says 2 males are okay. Beis Hillel is saying even a male and female are okay. The Bavli does not say that. The Bavli says, according to Beis Hillel, it's Dafka Zochar Nekeva. Yerushalmi says even a male and female. And the Yerushalmi's evidence for that is circumstantial. To Lochei, if that was not the case, Locheni, if that was not the case, Masnisa Mikule Beis Shammai and Chumrei Beis Hillel. The Ramesh would be a Chumrah Beis Shammai, Chumrah Beis Hillel, and Chula Beis Shammai, right? Because Beis Hillel would say Dafka Zochar Nekeva, and Beis Shammai would say even 2 Zchorim. So it must be that Beis Hillel being more makel holds really need 2 Zchorim, but even a Zochar Nekeva are good enough, right? Now the truth is the Bavli doesn't have to hold this way in the Pnei Moshe brings down. It's not a Kula and a Chumrah, it's 2 different perspectives. But the Yerushalmi have felt that 2 different perspectives would also mean that Beis Hillel in a certain way is being machmir on Beis Shammai, and therefore should have been listed in Masechta Eidos among the Chumras of Beis Hillel, right? And since it's not, it must be that Beis Hillel is going to be makel and says, really, two males are good enough. Two males are good. Even if you have male and female, that's good enough. And the Bavli argues and says, no, the standards are different. According to Beis Shammai, it's dafka 2 males. According to Beis Hillel, it's dafka male and female.
Isn't the probability of a male and female greater than the probability of 2 males?
Yeah, but I don't know if that makes a difference.
That's like a chumrah.
But so,
a chumrah would be 2 males. You got to wait for 2 males. If you get a male and female, which is a higher probability, that's a.
So maybe that would be the answer to the Bavli. That 2 males is statistically less probable. That's why Beis Shammai is being machmir. Very good. Okay, could be. Says makes sense. Says more. Now another thing the Beis Hillel, the Bavli does not hold, or the Yerushalmi. Bnei banim kibanim. Grandsons through a son are like a son. B'nei banos, grandsons to a daughter, einon kibonim. They're not like sons. And vice versa. Ben ubas bas olin. If you have let's say your son and daughter died, but you have a grandson through your son and a granddaughter through your daughter, that works. Because they take the place, but not vice versa. Bas ben uben bas einon olin. If you have a grandson through your daughter, or a granddaughter through your son, that doesn't work. You have to have son, or daughter. And we don't pass that way. We pass it as long as the children had kids. It doesn't matter what kids they had. Even if the children expired during the parents' lifetime, as long as they had kids, he's still Mekayim Puravu. It makes no difference what kids they had. But the Yerushalmi is saying it's got to be the son that he left the son, daughter that she left the daughter. Okay. Now this Baal Yerushalmi agree if the children the children are islanders and Sris, meaning they themselves are sterile and they can give birth and only didn't fulfill Puravu. Rayam Shem Logish says Tamadain Tanya. How do we learn out the 10 years? Because it says Mikates Eser Shoyim Mesheves Avram Beretz Canaan. When did he take Hagar? 10 years after coming to Eretz Canaan. Say Shoyim Shos B'Chutzlotz. You don't count the years in Chutzlotz. Since the rest of Pnei Moshe says that normally you do count years in Chutzlotz, but it says in the Medrash that Avraham Avinu came to Eretz Yisrael and he left Eretz Yisrael, and only came back later again. Lech Lecha is the second time he came to Eretz Yisrael, so he was punished for going to Chutzlotz. So that's why the 10 years only started when he came to Eretz Yisrael. But normally for somebody who started off in Chutzlotz, so the 10 years start from the time of the Chasna. The Tani came. But nevertheless, and we learned this in the Brayso, Chosahi, if there was a sickness, she got sick, or Shecholahu, or he got sick, or Shecholam Dina Sayam, or he went to Chutzlotz, ain't only law, they don't start counting the 10 years. Okay? Let's just go one more minute. Nisis Tarishon V'lo Yoda Yesh La Ksuva. She marries the first guy, doesn't give birth, she's got a Ksuva. L'Sheni, doesn't give birth, Yesh La Ksuva. L'Shlishi, Yesh La Ksuva, she doesn't Ksuva. L'Revila Chamishi marries the fourth and fifth guy, she's up to 50 years of marriage already. Ain't La Ksuva, she doesn't get the Ksuva. Why? Because she has a chazaka that she's barren, and therefore she loses her right to the Ksuva. Rabbi China Bar Agol B'Shem Rechizki said, L'Shlishi Atzmo Ain't La Ksuva. The third one is so ready she doesn't get Ksuva. As Machlokus, which the entire blood is going to speak about, will come back to tomorrow night. How does she establish a chazaka? Is the chazaka established only 3 times, or is the chazaka established in 2 times? And there are going to be many nafkaminas for this in various different areas of halacha.